It's Xavier Porter coming to you live direct, Brooklynfights.com. We're at Gleason's Gym. I'm sitting with the lovely, the beautiful, the intelligent, business-minded, strong Sarah Fina, Vice President of Operations of Greg Cohen Promotions. I want to thank Sarah for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Okay. So Sarah, we wanted to meet with you and discuss some of the things that's taking place in boxing, as well as the role that you play in boxing and how long you've been a part of the sport.
Well, I've been working on the business side of boxing for, I think it's about 10 years now.
Okay.
I originally got into boxing because I wanted to be a fighter, and I trained and I was around, and it was an aspiration of mine, but I had a daughter, and it made things a little difficult for me being a single mother and thinking of boxing as a full-time career. So I tried to think, well, wait, what can I do to continue to be in the sport that I love and make money doing it? And my first idea was to be a manager.
Okay.
And I picked up a fighter by the name of Rashad Holloway.
Okay.
He at that time was training in Houston, Texas, and I brought him out to LA and introduced him to, at that time, Shadid Saluki, who trained Layman Brewster, James Toney. I trained around that camp, Ishmael Salak, he had the Black Russian at the time. And Rashad picked up from there, and we got a couple fights, but he ended up at Wildcard Gym with Freddie Roach, and he ended up being a really good sparring partner. Became Manny Pacquiao's primary, and he sparred with everybody, including Margarito, who ended up breaking his orbital bone in sparring, and therefore they found the stuff in the gloves in the Mosley fight, and that's the fight he was sparring with him for. So we kind of got a lot of press off of that, and then I started working with other guys. I worked with Ishe Smith and a couple more aren't worth naming. But I learned I quickly learned that management was took a lot of money that I didn't have at the time, and it wasn't worth it to me. So I got into PR, and around the time when the Cubans came, Gamboa, Lara, and I did some stuff with them, and got them some press over in the UK with Boxing News.
Okay.
And from there I got a job at Prim Casino, Buffalo Bills, with Michael Starr, and Arena Boxing would go in there, Top Rank, and then I met Roy Jones Jr.
Okay.
And I started working with Roy, and then Gary Shaw came in, and I started working for Gary, and the ball just got rolling, and then I met Greg.
Okay.
So it just, everything kind of rolled together, and I kept at it, and I think now I found a home.
Okay. With Greg Cohen?
Yes, with Greg Cohen.
So, how long would you say you've been a part of the sport?
Including the probably 15 years, maybe a little more. Like, just because when I was a kid I would train, so I was always around. I knew a lot of people, so that gave me my way in, I guess you could say.
Are there any difficulties that you could share with the fans out there, the viewers out there, that some of the things that you might experience in the sport? Because there are always stories that boxing is the business of boxing, the business side is a tough sport. It's I don't want to say grimy, but it can be,
Sure.
a lot of things that take place that are negative. So is there anything that you can share that people need to be mindful of, or just kind of say, you don't want to just jump full in, but you want to actually understand what the sport is all about?
Yeah, unfortunately there's no school for the boxing business. It's kind of like you learn on the job. I would say to build your relationships first before you invest any money. Make sure that you know what you're doing. You know what a proper contract looks like.
Gotcha.
You know how to protect yourself in the event. Because most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, there's always some type of conflict that comes about. Somebody wants more money, or they don't like something in the contract, and somebody else comes along with more money, and you really have to be careful and know how to protect yourself, because and I hate to say it, but the fighter goes to the highest bidder most of the time.
Gotcha.
And and it happens with almost everybody. You know, I don't know too many world champions that have been with just one promoter their entire career, or one manager their entire career. So you have to be thick-skinned, you know. And definitely, me being a woman, I had to be thick-skinned because they came at me. They came for me. You know, they definitely came for me, and you know, there's been rumors and negative things said about me, and you know, I just had to continue doing what I was doing. And you know, when they see you on top, then they're gonna keep talking. But hey, I'm here.
Gotcha.
So,
what are some of the things that a vice president of operations does?
My strength is I am an eye for talent.
Okay.
I know talent when I see it. I like to find the talent. We just signed a kid, Malik Hawkins from Baltimore. He's 5-0 with 4 knockouts. He's incredible. And I just found him just by going to a local show in Baltimore that Sharif Rahman, who was a friend of GCP, he was making his pro debut on, and I saw him, and I was like, man, I gotta have this kid. You know, and it just so happened, this is another thing about relationships, that his manager is a very good friend of Roy Jones. So Mayweather wanted him as well, but Roy, no, go sign with Sarah and GCP. And that's what the importance of relationship is. We may not have as much money as Floyd, but I got the relationship.
Gotcha.
You know, so it really is about relationships and who you know and alliances.